Welcome back. Sean here again at Boston Drum, and this is part 2 of our floor tom tuning video. See the description for links to part 1 as well as the original videos in this Tuning Lab series, where we tuned an 8x12-inch mounted tom. Last time out, we listened to 10 different tunings of these 14 and 16-inch floor toms, and as a reminder, these are drum dial readings on the screen right now. Here in part 2, we'll analyze some of what we heard and determine whether the principles we learned while tuning the mounted tom apply also to these floor toms, or whether we need to take a different approach because they're deeper drums. First, we'll focus on 3 of the 10 tunings that we heard in part 1, which represent the 3 different methods of tuning: even tension, top and bottom, as in tuning 4, higher tension on the bottom than the top, as in tuning number 5, and higher tension on the top than on the bottom, as in tuning number 3. Then we'll explore what we called sister tunings the first time around, where the overall tension on the drum is the same, but the relationship between the top and the bottom head is different. And finally, we'll listen to 4 bonus tunings, where the top and bottom heads are both farther apart and closer in terms of tension than in the tunings we've already heard. So let's start with tuning number 4, even tension on the top and bottom heads. In the original videos featuring the 12-inch mounted tom, we found that having the same tension on the batter and resonant heads produced a pure, clean tone, without much complexity or bend or movement throughout the note. Let's listen to the floor toms with that in mind. The uneven tunings produced a more complex tone as the pitch of the resonant head came through, especially towards the end of the note. That influenced the shape or trajectory of the note, producing an inflection either up or down. That was the 14-inch drum, so let's recap those tunings on the 16-inch drum as well. And keep in mind that our variance between the top and bottom heads is about a quarter turn of the drum key, or 5 units on the drum dial. So far, I think that the floor toms are behaving similarly to the 12-inch tom in the original videos. Back then, we noticed that the drums sustained a little bit longer when tuned evenly top and bottom, and the uneven tunings shortened the note slightly, especially when the top head was tighter than the bottom. Let's hear 2 sets of sister tunings on the floor toms and listen for differences in the shape and the length of the notes. Certainly, we can hear the difference in the shape or trajectory of the notes, and the drums in the uneven tunings may sustain a little bit less than they did in the even tunings, but overall tension on the drum has more of an effect in that regard. It sustains less in general as the tension goes up. We may be able to produce a longer note at a lower overall tension, which brings us to our bonus tunings. The lowest usable tuning on these drums was about 67/67 on the drum dial. We rounded that up to 70/70 to match the range in the original videos and to use nice round numbers on the drum dial. So that's where part 1 started, 70/70. But let's hear what we captured at that lowest tuning, 67 on top and 67 on the bottom. Sure enough, those notes may be a little bit longer if you listen very carefully. Our next experiment was to bring up the resonant heads by half a turn of the drum key, or 10 units on the drum dial. In the original videos, the 12-inch tom fell a little short of this range. It sounded kind of strange when the difference between the top and bottom head exceeded around 9 units or so. If they get too far apart, the two heads can get out of whack, but we thought we'd have a little more leeway with these deeper drums. Not bad, still pretty usable. For the record, we tried another eighth of a turn of the key or so, and we hit the wall. So I think a half a turn might be roughly the maximum discrepancy between the top and bottom heads. Remember though, that's assuming you're using the same head, top and bottom, or your heads are the same thickness at least. You might get different results if you're using, for instance, a 2-ply head on top. For our final bonus tunings, we brought the heads closer together than the quarter-turn 5-unit interval we'd been using all along. And just for fun, we tuned the two toms differently. Batter head higher on the 14, resonant head higher on the 16. If you're using two floor toms, you don't need to use matching tunings. And of course, that applies to all of the toms in your kit. That concludes this installment of the Tuning Lab series. I think we found that the principles we learned in the original videos, tuning a 12-inch mounted tom, do apply to these floor toms, with a few subtle differences that we noted along the way. Hopefully, these videos will equip and empower you to discover new sounds in your own drums. If you have any further questions or observations, you can post them in the comment section below. Stay tuned, and as always, thanks for watching.